Okay, in the last video, I showed you how to use a while loop. A while loop and a for loop are both, ugh, tongue twisted. They both belong to the category of preconditioned loops. Preconditioned loops means it checks the condition before it runs the loop. So here, for example, we've got a for loop, and I've changed the syntax a little bit. It says let counter equal 4, counter less than 4, counter plus plus. So what this is doing is it says start at 4, count until you get almost up to 4. But if you pass 4, stop the loop and then continue on. If you've noticed, this loop will never run because it will start the counter at 4 and then it'll check if 4 is less than 4. 4 is not less than 4, so it's just going to skip over this loop and end. Meaning a for loop can run 0 times or possibly many times. In this case, it will run 0 times. The same is true for our while loop. It checks a condition and then it runs the loop. So we're checking if my password is not the same as the real password, and then we're going to alert the loop ran. So in this case, hello and hello are exactly the same. So this condition is going to get checked and it's just going to skip over it. Meaning a while loop can run 0 and possibly many times. Let's just see this in practice. So I'm going to click go live and there it is. Nothing ran. And maybe you thought maybe the code isn't working. So just to prove to you that it's not just the code, we're going to put a breakpoint on line 14 and we're going to reload our page. And it paused. So sure enough, this for loop started executing. And we said, let's initialize the counter to 4. Now let's see if 4 is less than 4. It's not, so skip the loop. And then it came to my password. So we said, while hello is not equal to hello, well, those are equal. So this condition is no longer true, which means we should skip this one. And sure enough, it skipped it. Those are what are called precondition loops. We check the condition and then we run the loop. I am going to show you now something that is called a post-condition loop. A post-condition loop is for when you want your code to run at least once. Both of the previous loops I showed you ran 0 times, but they could have run many times. The loop I'm about to show you will always run once, but might possibly run many times. So in order for this to work, I'm going to create a deposit, and I'm going to set it to, I'm going to create a total deposit, and I'm going to set it to $0. Sorry, I can't spell. And then I'm going to create a continue to deposit, and I'm going to set it equal to no. Now I'm going to start my loop. So I'm going to say do, and then I want to ask the user if they want to deposit money. So I'm going to say let deposit amount equal, and we'll just assume that they're going to enter whole numbers. Parse int, and we'll prompt them, how much would you like to deposit? Once they've given us that amount, we're going to take our total deposit and we're going to increase it by the deposit amount. If you wanted to write this out in longhand, you could say total deposit equals total deposit plus deposit amount. I like shorthand notation, so we're going to do total deposit plus equals deposit amount. Then we need to ask them if they want to deposit again. So we'll say continue to deposit equals prompt would would you like to deposit more? And then I'm going to say yes or no. And then to clean up my input, they could enter a lowercase y, and I still want to count that as an uppercase y. To handle that, I'm going to say dot to uppercase. What this does is it converts everything that they entered into the prompt into uppercase. Once I've done that, I'm going to get here to the end of this do statement. So it says do this code. That means run that code exactly once. But I might want that code to repeat. And I'm going to say while continue to deposit is equal to yes. So if they enter yes, then I want to run the loop again. If they don't, then the loop will end. And then once it's done, I'm going to alert the total deposit. So I'm going to save this code and I'm going to come over here and we're going to stop the present debugger and reload our page. says, how much would you like to deposit? So you'll notice neither of the precondition loops ran because their condition said not to. This one hasn't even checked the condition yet. It just said, how much would you like to deposit? So I'll say $100 and then I'll hit OK. Then it says, would you like to deposit more? If I say yes and hit enter, it says, how much would you like to deposit? I'll do another $100. Then it says, would you like to deposit more? I'll say no. And then it says 200, meaning that was the total amount that I had there. To show you this in the debugger, I'm going to remove the break. I'm going to actually leave the breakpoint on line 14, and we're going to reload this page. So we get to our precondition for loop, meaning it checks the condition before it runs. And the condition is not true, so it just skips the for loop. Now we get to our while loop, and it checks the condition before it runs. The condition isn't true, so it drops through it. We create our total deposit, and we create our continue to deposit variable. Now we say, let the deposit amount equal how much would you like to deposit. Notice this loop has already started running. It hasn't even checked the condition once. So we'll give it an amount. We'll say 100, and then we'll hit the next button. And now our deposit is 100. We increment our total deposit, and now we prompt to see if you would like to deposit more. So we're going to hit next. I'm going to say no. I'm going to hit OK. And then our continue to deposit is our continue to deposit is capital N. Capital N is not the same as capital Y. So now it's evaluating if this loop should run again. If I had entered Y, the loop would run again. Because I've entered N, it says, okay, the loop is over. Now alert. So notice this loop ran only once, but it ran at least once. And then we'll alert our deposit, and our code works as we expected. So if we come back over here, the main difference between a do-while loop and a while loop is that a while loop might never run. A do-while loop will run at least once. And that concludes the video on do-while loops. Thanks for watching.